I am a lifelong sport enthusiast. I played many different sports in my formative years, and I attended college on a Division I athletic scholarship. I worked in various domains of sport as a college coach, athletic administrator, sport manager, and I even spent some time as a freelance sport journalist. Now, these experiences from very different angles of sport have really motivated me as a person and as a scholar. And they've helped me to understand the social and cultural dynamics of sport and the potential for sport as an agent for change. I'm Dr. Ketra Armstrong, professor in sport management and director of the Center for Race and Ethnicity in Sport in the School of Kinesiology, and I'm also a university diversity and social transformation professor here at the University of Michigan. Through my involvement in sport, I learned some critical lessons. It taught me values, shaped my character, and fueled my aspirations for winning in life. It also equipped me with an earnest desire to be an advocate of diversity, inclusion, fairness, and social justice. And I want to share 3 fundamental elements necessary for success in team sports. Number 1, diversity is required. See, sport teams are comprised of individuals with different talents, skills, and abilities, and different sizes, different shapes. They're playing different positions. In fact, the only way team sports work is to have diversity. So this is one instance where sameness is somewhat of a liability in team sports, because it's diversity that allows for team success. And sport offers us a unique model that showcases winning because of diversity and not in spite of it. The second thing is inclusion is a must. Players are expected to contribute their authentic talents in their own way, from their own position, to make sport teams work. And coaches put players in positions and situations where they can thrive. So players feel included and they feel valued as they are, how they are, where they are. Number 3, there are rules to ensure fair play are expected. And there are rules and regulations that govern what's permissible and what's a foul. And there's transparency in the process, and there are officials in place to ensure that the games are being played fairly and without undue penalty or disproportional harm to certain groups. So because diversity is required, inclusion is a must, and there are rules to ensure fairness, sport is one platform that often features a performance of blackness. It's one of the few entities that actually celebrates Black excellence, and it relishes Black talent rather than discriminating because of it. Because in sport, it's skills that matter. Now, my long-term involvement in sport has allowed me to experience the constructions, the manifestations, the critique, and reactions to Blackness up close and in person. And as such, my experiences in sport have stimulated my authentic embrace of diversity, inclusion, and social justice, and my desire to infuse these concepts in my work. My scholarship focuses on race in sport, and it seeks to illuminate, 1, the social psychology of race and its impact on thoughts, behaviors, opportunities, and experiences, and 2, the power of sport in celebrating Blackness. Now, I want to share with you some takeaways of some of my research on race and sport, and I want to note the implications that they have for transforming our institutions. I conducted some research on race and sport that has implications for engaging diverse learners. For instance, a study I conducted on the socio-cognitive implications of race to Black males in higher education, it really illustrated how fluid race is as an asset and a liability, particularly for Black male student athletes in higher education. The Black student athletes in my study reported that when they are on the fields of competition, people see through their Blackness. And the focus is not on the color of their skins, but the color of their team uniform. They're celebrated in sports, and they're offered a modicum of social capital because they are representing our sport teams, they're representing our universities. But when the same Black student athletes are in the classroom, their blackness becomes an impediment to their learning experience. And they're often subject to stereotypes and the concept called the imposter syndrome, having the legitimacy of them being students questioned. And they're often required to prove their worth as students, because in this context, blackness is perceived to be a burden to their educational ability. What if, as educators, we all relish our role as coaches of our own classrooms and we engage the cultural diversity of our learners? What if we saw our students for the uniqueness they bring to the classroom and to the overall learning experience? What if we saw through the stereotypes of blackness and other identities that package the talents of our students, and we were determined to excavate the genius inside of all of them? It's sort of like requiring us to look at an acorn and yet see the seeds and the potential inside of a mighty oak tree. What if we saw our Black students, athletes or otherwise, as critical theorists, and we celebrated the knowledge of their lived experiences and brought that into the academy? What if, like sport coaches, we were determined to create conditions for all students to thrive, realizing that when they succeed, we, the team, also succeed, because that makes society the real winner. What a transformative experience that would be for higher education. My research on race in sport has also offered implications for transforming organizational cultures. For instance, studies I've conducted on race, gender, and sport leadership have suggested that based on the culture of whiteness and the culture of maleness that permeates most sport organizations in many academic settings, Black women who are at the intersection of racial discrimination and gender discrimination, they're prevented from showing their talent. Additionally, Black women often have to mask their racial identity to blend in with the mainstream organizational cultures. I mean, they're not allowed to be authentic, to bring in their authentic Black selves. And research has demonstrated that masking identity, not being the authentic selves and this identity diffusion, it impacts performance. It impacts job satisfaction, and it impacts overall well-being. Now, this line of my research has also revealed that a good old boys club is operative, and it offers unwritten and unfair advantages to white men and to a lesser extent, Black men. Consequently, Black women often lack access to the social networks and the inside tracks that could facilitate their leadership opportunities and experiences. And without the luxury of maleness and whiteness, Black women have still found a way to reinvent themselves, and they have much to teach us in sport leadership and every domain of society. What if we fully embrace the skills that Black women have historically demonstrated, skills that their race and gender, and often their class, have required them to successfully navigate and negotiate for a lifetime? What if we created organizational cultures that did not require certain groups to hide elements of their identity, and people were encouraged to bring their whole racial selves to the workplace? What if sport organizations and other institutions throughout society were transparent and they had policies and procedures without hidden agendas or unwritten rules that adversely impact women and people of color? What if, like sport events, we accepted officials in the workplace to ensure equity, equality, fairness as the norm? And what if we had them in place to be sure that our processes and procedures were just? What if accountability for achieving equity and fairness was expected in all of our institutions? What a transformation that would be. And lastly, my research on sport consumption in general, and on the historically Black college sport consumption, which I'm going to call HBCU experience in particular, it has illustrated that cultural representation matters, and individuals of color are seeking culturally relevant experiences. Moreover, the research that I've conducted on the HBCU sport consumption has particularly elucidated the attractiveness of Blackness performed in music, dance, clothing, food, fellowship. The variety of blackness that's showcased in lots of different shades and forms and flavors. It has also elucidated the profound liberation and euphoria when racial identity is affirmed and reinforced. And it has poignantly illustrated the presence of a racial effervescence that transformed the sport consumption setting, and it creates this collective freedom that resonates with the Black community, allowing them to exhale a metaphoric and symbolic right on. What if we infuse a culture-centric approach in our delivery of instruction and services? What if our institutions embrace the essence of culturally laden attributes that distinguish the HBCU experience? What if we created multicultural environments in our institutions that welcomed and normalized unapologetic Blackness? What a transformation that would be. So although my research is centered on transforming the institution of sport to more fully embrace the ideals that are germane to team success, such as diversity, inclusion, fair play, as I hope I've illustrated for you, my research has implications for social change and justice in various domains beyond the realm of sports. And it also spills into everyday life. So as I conclude, the world needs sports for so many reasons. Psychologically, we need to feel the thrill of victory, and yet we need to learn to also embrace the agony of defeat. Socially, our world is divided, and sport brings us together. It gives us a reason and a platform to connect, to feel a sense of belonging. Sport also allows us to be a part of something that's larger than us. And you know, being a part of something bigger than we are, that really helps with the evolution of our souls. But sport does something else that the world needs. It models and showcases the fundamentals of diversity, inclusion, and equity, and it does it in real time. It celebrates Blackness in a world filled with systemic anti-Black racism. And the Blackness conveyed in sport is so organic that we often fail to see it. And you know, it's been said that the true discovery is not about traveling to new lands or journeying to new places. It's about seeing the same old landscape with new eyes. I want you to see sports with new eyes. When you watch a sport event, and I know many of you do, I want you to see the magic on display. I want you to see the poetic orchestration of human behavior. I want you to see Blackness woven into the rhyme of diversity, the rhythm of inclusion, and the harmony of justice. You know, Nelson Mandela, who was the legendary South African activist and politician who fought to end apartheid, he used a combination of methods in his attempts to try to dismantle South Africa's system of institutionalized racism. And among the different methods that he used was sports. Mandela realized the transformative and unifying power of sports. And he used that power to make changes that protest and diplomacy could not accomplish, despite his best efforts. So he concluded, sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to youth in a language that they understand. Sport can create hope where there was once only despair. It's more powerful than government in breaking down racial barriers. I concur with Mandela's sentiments. Sport changed my life. It inspired my scholarly activism, or what, in the words of Zora Neale Hurston, my formalized curiosity, my poking and prying with a purpose for social justice. Now, I'm sure that you have your own sports story. Maybe you're a former student athlete yourself, or maybe you're a parent, a relative, or a friend of an athlete. I encourage you to be a player, to be a coach in your own personal and professional lives, at work and at play. How do you do this? Gathering diverse teams, being around people who are different from you, creating inclusive settings and situations where all people can thrive, playing by the rules, and being intentional with your advocacy for social justice. Now, that would be inspired transformation. And in the spirit of sport, that is what winning looks like.